Emma ran from the pack, and from the alpha she believed fate had paired her with by mistake. But when she returns for her sister's engagement party, she finds Kai still unmarried, still watching her like a storm he's refused to let pass. 17 potential mates rejected. 3 years of silence. And one confession that changes everything. Welcome, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The ballroom was drowning in candlelight and roses. Emma's sister Jenna had transformed the Silver Pine Pack Hall into something out of a fairy tale, complete with a string quartet that made every moment feel like a prelude to something monumental. Which meant Emma had approximately 90 seconds before someone, probably Aunt Marissa, cornered her with the dreaded question. So, dear, when are you getting mated? Emma grabbed a champagne flute from a passing server and positioned herself behind a marble column, the universal signal for leave me alone. I'm contemplating poor life choices. 3 years in Portland had given her a modest apartment above a bookstore, a job shelving novels about the very supernatural world she'd fled, and exactly 0 romantic prospects. Which was fine. Great, even. She'd escaped the whispers, the pitying looks, the humiliation. She'd escaped him. Emma Thorne. The voice came from directly behind her, low, dark, laced with something between amusement and possession. Hiding at your own sister's engagement party. How very you. Emma's fingers tightened on the champagne flute. She didn't need to turn around. She'd recognized that voice in her sleep, mostly because it haunted her sleep, wove through her dreams like smoke she couldn't escape. Alprake Sterling. She turned anyway, because apparently self-preservation had abandoned her the moment she'd agreed to come home. He stood closer than propriety allowed, 6'4" of restrained power packed into a black suit that fit him like sin. Dark hair pulled back in that same style she remembered, severe, controlled, devastatingly attractive. And those eyes. God, those golden eyes that had once looked at her with stunned wonder before she destroyed everything with 6 catastrophic words. The mate bond, the one she'd formally rejected 3 years ago in a moment of spectacular panic, flickered to life in her chest. A phantom warmth that shouldn't exist, curling around her ribs like it had never left. Alpha Sterling, she said, proud when her voice came out cool and steady. Still using your intimidation tactics on unsuspecting guests, I see. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Dangerous. Only on the ones who publicly humiliated me, fled to another state without a word, and then had the audacity to show up wearing that dress. Emma glanced down at the silver-blue gown Jenna had insisted she wear. It makes you look like moonlight, her sister had said. Like a princess, but dangerous. Now, watching Kai's eyes track over her with barely restrained hunger, Emma wondered if Jenna had been playing matchmaker all along. It's just a dress, Emma muttered. It's a declaration of war. Kai stepped closer, and suddenly she could smell him, cedar and night air, and something uniquely him that made her wolf whine in recognition. Tell me, Emma, do you ever think about that day? In the library? Every single day. For 3 years, she'd replayed it in her mind like a horror film she couldn't turn off. The way the bond had snapped into place while she was shelving paranormal romances. Ironic, considering her life was about to become one. The way Kai had been standing in the stacks, looking at her like she'd just solved every problem in his complicated alpha life. The way her brain had immediately supplied, this is a prank. This has to be a prank. Marcus is getting revenge for the geese incident. I, Emma Thorne, reject you, Kai Sterling, as my mate. The formal words had tumbled out before she could stop them. Binding. Irreversible. The library had gone dead silent. 20 pack members had watched as something shattered in Kai's golden eyes, watched as the color drained from his face, watched as the most powerful alpha in 3 territories stood frozen like she'd physically struck him. Then he'd walked out without a word. And Emma had spent 6 hours ugly crying in the reference section before packing a bag and fleeing to Portland like a coward. I think about it, she admitted quietly, her fingers trembling slightly on the champagne flute. Around them, pack members danced and laughed, but it felt like she and Kai existed in a bubble separate from the rest of the world. I think about how I made the biggest mistake of my life because I couldn't believe fate would pair someone like you with someone like me. Someone like you, he repeated, his voice dropping to that alpha rumble that made her knees weak. You mean intelligent? Kind? Brave enough to challenge me when everyone else just agrees? Boring. Emma corrected, her throat tight. Awkward. The girl who brings philosophy books to pack runs and can't flirt to save her life. The Omega who told the Alpha his leadership strategy had concerning authoritarian tendencies in front of the entire council. This time, Kai did smile. It was small, barely there, but it transformed his face from intimidating to devastating. That girl, he said softly, his hand coming up to brush her cheek, a touch so gentle it made her chest ache. That's exactly the girl I fell in love with. The one who saw past the title and the power and called me on my bullshit. The one I've been waiting for. Emma's heart stopped, then started again, erratic and too fast. "Okay." The council gave me an ultimatum, he said, and just like that, the warmth in his voice evaporated, replaced by something cold and final. Choose a mate by the full moon, or they strip my alpha status. Install someone more stable. Someone who won't let personal feelings compromise pack security. The full moon. That was in 3 days. 3 days, and then Kai would belong to someone else. Some elegant she-wolf from a prestigious pack. Someone confident and beautiful and worthy of an alpha. Someone who wouldn't panic and reject him like a fool. So this is goodbye, Emma whispered, her vision blurring at the edges. You came to tell me you're moving on. Kai laughed, and it was the most bitter sound Emma had ever heard. Sharp and humorless, cutting through the soft music like broken glass. Move on. He shook his head, and something wild flickered in those golden eyes. Emma, I've rejected 17 potential mates in the last 3 years. 17. Daughters of alphas, compatible omegas personally selected by the council, even a visiting pack leader from Canada who the elders swore was perfect. The council thinks I've lost my mind. My beta thinks I'm sabotaging the pack. My mother has stopped speaking to me entirely. Emma's breath caught. 17. Every single one. His hand was still on her cheek, thumb brushing her skin with maddening tenderness. Do you want to know what I told them? What I've told everyone for 3 years. She couldn't speak, could barely breathe. I told them that Emma Thorne is my mate, Kai said, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. I told them I don't care that she rejected me. I don't care that she ran. I don't care that the bond should be broken. Because here's the thing they don't understand. He caught her hand, the one still clutching the champagne flute like a lifeline, and placed it over his heart. Even through the suit jacket and dress shirt, she could feel it racing, thundering against her palm like it was trying to reach her. The bond didn't break, Emma. The ballroom tilted. Or maybe that was just her world shifting off its axis. That's impossible, she breathed. When an omega rejects an alpha, the bond severs. Everyone knows that. It's
permanent, Kai finished.
Yes. Except ours didn't sever. It's still there. I can feel it right now, pulling me toward you like it has every single day for 3 years. And I've done the research, talked to every pack historian and elder I could find. There's only one reason a rejection bond doesn't break. Emma's pulse hammered in her throat. What reason? His smile was pure wolf, predatory and possessive, and so intense it made her stomach flip. Because the rejection wasn't sincere. Because somewhere deep down in the part of you that you can't lie to, you didn't mean it. You knew we belonged together.
No.
No, that couldn't be right. She'd meant it. She'd been protecting herself, protecting him from being saddled with an omega who wasn't good enough, who would embarrass him. Who? Except she could feel it too, now that he'd said it out loud. That phantom warmth in her chest that had never completely faded, even after 3 years and 2 states between them. The way her wolf had whined and clawed every time she'd tried to date someone else in Portland. The dreams where she'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there. I don't understand, she whispered. I'm saying fate doesn't give up that easily. Kai's other hand came up to cup her face, tilting her chin, so she had to look at him. And neither do I. So here's your choice, Emma Thorne. The music swelled. The pack members had stopped even pretending to dance now, every wolf in the room watching them with undisguised fascination. Emma could see Jenna by the cake table, her hand pressed to her mouth, eyes shining. Run again, Kai said softly. Go back to Portland. Spend the rest of your life in that little apartment above the bookstore, wondering, what if? Watch from a distance as I mate someone the council approves of. Someone who isn't you.
Or.
The word came out broken. His smile turned gentle, and it was somehow more devastating than the predatory one. Accept the bond. Accept me. Let me spend the next 50 years proving that fate knew exactly what she was doing when she made you mine.
3 years of running.
3 years of doubt and self-loathing and convinced she'd done the right thing by setting him free. 3 years of believing she wasn't enough. Emma looked into those golden eyes, the ones that had waited, that had refused 17 other mates, that had never stopped believing, and felt something crack open in her chest. The council, she started. They'll never accept. The council can accept it or find themselves a new alpha, Kai said flatly. I've already made my choice, Emma. I made it 3 years ago in that library. I'm just waiting for you to make yours. Her hand was still pressed against his heart, still feeling it race beneath her palm, steady and sure and entirely focused on her. She'd spent 3 years running, 3 years hiding, 3 years convinced that rejecting him had been an act of mercy. But what if she'd been wrong? What if the bond had never broken because some part of her, the truest, deepest part, had known all along? Emma didn't step back. For the first time in 3 years, she stepped closer. Her voice cracked. She tried again. I need to know something first. Kai's expression didn't change, but she felt the tension coil through him. Anything.
Why?
The question burst out of her, raw and desperate. Why me, Kai? You could have any wolf you wanted. Stronger, more confident, better suited to be an alpha's mate. Why are you so determined to have me? For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then, slowly, he smiled. Not the predatory alpha smile or the gentle one, but something else. Something real and unguarded and utterly devastating. Do you remember the first time we met? He asked. Emma blinked at the non sequitur. We grew up in the same pack. We've known each other since. The first time we really met, Kai clarified. You were 18. I was 23 and had just taken over as alpha after my father stepped down. The transition was rough. Half the council thought I was too young, too radical, too willing to challenge tradition. She remembered. The pack had been in chaos for months. There was a council meeting, Kai continued, his thumb still tracing absent patterns on her cheek, about expanding territory into the disputed zone near the river. Every wolf in that room was either agreeing with me because I was alpha or disagreeing because they wanted to undermine me. No one was actually thinking about whether it was the right choice. Emma's breath caught. She remembered that meeting too. She'd been shelving books in the council library, trying to be invisible, when she'd heard the shouting. And then this Omega I barely knew, this quiet girl who spent more time with books than people, knocked on the council room door. You had a stack of territorial maps and a 200-year-old treaty that everyone had forgotten about. And you looked me right in the eye and told me my expansion plan had concerning authoritarian tendencies and would violate 3-pack laws. You were furious, Emma whispered, remembering the way his eyes had flashed gold. I was fascinated, Kai corrected. Because you were right. And you didn't care that I was alpha, didn't care that every other wolf in that room wanted to please me or challenge me. You just cared about the truth, about doing what was right, even if it meant standing up to someone with 10 times your power. He leaned closer until his forehead rested against hers. That's when I knew, he murmured. That's when I started falling. Long before the mate bond snapped into place. So when you ask me why you, Emma, the answer is simple. Because you're brave and brilliant and honest. Because you see me, not just the alpha. Because in a world where everyone else is playing politics, you're the only one who gives a damn about the truth. Emma's eyes burned. I thought it was a prank, she confessed, her voice breaking. When the bond happened, I thought Marcus was getting revenge, or that fate had made a mistake, or… Fate doesn't make mistakes. Kai's hands framed her face now, holding her like she was something precious. But even if she did, even if there was no bond at all, I'd still choose you. Every time. In every lifetime. The ballroom had gone completely silent. Emma could feel every wolf watching, holding their breath, waiting to see what she'd do. 3 years ago, she'd rejected him out of fear, out of the certainty that she wasn't enough. But standing here now, feeling the bond pulse between them like a living thing, seeing the absolute conviction in Kai's eyes. Maybe she'd been wrong about everything. I'm terrified, she admitted. I know. The council will fight this. Let them. I don't know how to be an alpha's mate. Kai's smile turned wolfish. Good thing you have 50 years to figure it out. Emma's breath shuddered out. Her hand was still pressed against his racing heart, and she could feel her own matching its rhythm. 3 years of running. 3 years of believing she'd done the right thing. 3 years of being absolutely, catastrophically wrong. Ask me again, she whispered. Kai's eyes flared gold, his wolf rising to the surface. Emma Thorne, he said, his voice dropping to that alpha command that made every wolf in the room snap to attention. But his hands were still gentle on her face, still holding her like she might break. Will you accept me as your mate? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that you are everything I've ever wanted? The bond surged between them, warm and right and home. Emma didn't hesitate this time. Yes. The single word had barely left her lips before Kai kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was 3 years of waiting, of longing, of refusing to give up compressed into a single moment. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head back as he claimed her mouth with an intensity that made her knees buckle. Emma's champagne flute hit the marble floor. She'd forgotten she was even holding it, and shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces. She didn't care. Her hands fisted in his jacket, pulling him closer, and the bond sang. It roared to life between them like it had been sleeping, waiting for this moment, and suddenly Emma could feel everything, his relief, his joy, his absolute unwavering certainty that this was right. Someone in the crowd hooped. Then someone else. Within seconds, the entire ballroom erupted in cheers and applause. Kai pulled back just far enough to rest his forehead against hers, both of them breathing hard. 3 years, he murmured, his voice rough. 3 years I've waited to do that. Emma laughed, and it came out watery.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry I… Don't. His thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. Don't apologize for being scared. Don't apologize for protecting yourself. Just don't run again. Please. I won't, she promised, and meant it with every fiber of her being. I won't run. Good. Kai's smile was pure satisfaction. Because, I should probably mention, the council meeting is tomorrow morning, and they're expecting me to announce my chosen mate. Emma's eyes widened. Tomorrow? Kai, I can't. I'm not prepared to. You'll be perfect, he said simply. You're always perfect. Before Emma could argue, or panic, or possibly both, Jenna appeared at her elbow, mascara streaked and grinning like a maniac. I knew it, her sister shrieked, throwing her arms around Emma. I knew the bond never broke. I told Mom, I told everyone, but no one believed me. You knew. Emma pulled back to stare at her sister. Jenna rolled her eyes. Please. You think I invited you home just for my engagement party? This whole thing was a setup. Why do you think I insisted on that dress? Why do you think I made sure Kai would be here tonight? Emma's mouth fell open. You've been scheming. Someone had to. Jenna gestured wildly. You were wasting away in Portland. He was rejecting every mate the council threw at him. It was like watching the world's saddest romance novel. I had to intervene. Kai chuckled, and Emma realized he'd kept one arm wrapped firmly around her waist. Like he was afraid she might disappear if he let go. Your sister, he said, amusement clear in his voice, is terrifying. She gets it from Mom, Emma muttered. As if summoned, their mother appeared through the crowd, tears streaming down her face. My baby girl, she sobbed, pulling Emma into a crushing hug. I'm so happy. So happy. Mom, I can't breathe. You're accepting the bond, right? Her mother pulled back, suddenly fierce. Tell me you're accepting it, Emma Grace Thorne, because if you run again, so help me. I'm accepting it, Emma said quickly. I promise. No more running. Her mother's expression softened. Then she turned to Kai, and her voice dropped to something lethal. You hurt my daughter, alpha or not, and I will end you. Kai didn't even blink.
Understood, Mom.
Good. Her mother sniffed, wiped her eyes, and smiled. Welcome to the family. The rest of the night passed in a blur of congratulations, hugs from pack members Emma barely remembered, and Kai's steady presence at her side. He never let go of her, always a hand at her back, fingers intertwined with hers, a constant anchor in the chaos. It should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like coming home. Emma woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a warm, solid presence wrapped around her from behind. For one blissful moment, she thought she was dreaming. Then Kai's arm tightened around her waist, pulling her closer against his chest, and reality came flooding back. The engagement party, the confession, the kiss that had shattered 3 years of carefully constructed walls, the acceptance. Your heart is racing, Kai murmured against her neck, his voice rough with sleep. Second thoughts already. Emma's breath hitched. She was in Kai's bed, in the Alpha's quarters at the pack house. They'd stumbled here sometime after midnight, after the party had finally wound down, after Jenna had hugged her 17 more times and made her promise not to disappear again. Nothing had happened beyond Kai holding her while she'd fallen asleep, but still. She was in his bed, wearing one of his t-shirts, because her gown had been impossible to sleep in, and his bare chest was pressed against her back, radiating heat like a furnace. Not second thoughts, she managed. Just processing. Kai's laugh rumbled through her. You always were an overthinker. His lips brushed her shoulder, a feather-light touch that sent electricity racing down her spine. The council meeting is in 2 hours. We should talk about what to expect.
Right.
The council meeting where Kai would announce his choice and Emma would have to face the same wolves who'd watched her reject him 3 years ago. Her stomach twisted into knots. Hey. Kai gently turned her to face him, and Emma's breath caught. His dark hair was loose around his shoulders, golden eyes soft in the morning light. He looked younger like this. Less alpha. More just,
Okay.
Talk to me. What's going on in that brilliant mind? I don't know how to do this, Emma admitted. Be an alpha's mate. I'm not what they expect. What they want. What do you think they expect? Emma gestured helplessly. Someone strong. Confident. Someone who knows pack politics and can stand at your side without embarrassing you. I'm just the woman I love, Kai interrupted firmly. The woman who's brave enough to challenge me. Smart enough to catch problems no one else sees. Kind enough to care about doing what's right, not what's easy. The council. The council will fall in line, or they'll find themselves replaced. His voice hardened. I've been patient for 3 years, Emma. I've played their games, considered their suitable candidates, let them think they had a say. But that ends today. You're my mate. My choice. And anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with my wolf. The casual dominance in his tone should have been alarming. Instead, it made something warm unfurl in Emma's chest. What if I mess up? She whispered. What if I'm not good at this? Kai's thumb traced her cheekbone. Then we'll figure it out together. That's what mates do, Emma. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be willing to try. Before Emma could respond, a sharp knock sounded at the door. Alpha. The voice was male, clipped and professional. The council is gathering early. Elder Whitmore is demanding an audience before the formal meeting. Kai's expression darkened. Of course he is. He pressed a quick kiss to Emma's forehead before sliding out of bed.
Get dressed.
Wear something that makes you feel strong. I'll handle Whitmore. Emma sat up, watching as he pulled on clothes with efficient movements, dark jeans, a charcoal Henley that stretched across his shoulders in ways that should be illegal. Alpha Kai was returning, the softness of the morning replaced by barely restrained authority. Kai, she called as he reached the door. He paused, looking back. Thank you, she said quietly. For waiting. For not giving up. His smile was pure warmth. Always, Emma. Always. An hour later, Emma stood outside the council chambers wearing a navy dress Jenna had somehow produced from thin air, her hands clenched so tightly her nails dug into her palms. She could hear voices inside, raised, angry. Elder Whitmore's booming baritone cutting through everything else. Completely unacceptable. The girl rejected you publicly, humiliated this pack, and you expect us to simply. I expect you to remember your place, Elder. Kai's voice was lethal calm. I am Alpha. My choice of mate is not subject to council approval. It is when that choice threatens pack stability. Another voice, Elder Chin.
She's weak.
Unproven. What message does this send to other packs when our Alpha chooses an Omega who couldn't even accept the bond the first time? Emma's stomach churned. This was exactly what she'd feared. What she'd known would happen. Running away already? She spun to find a woman leaning against the wall, tall, blonde, devastatingly beautiful in a way that made Emma feel like a rumpled mess. She wore confidence like armor, her eyes cold as she surveyed Emma from head to toe. I'm sorry, do I know you? The woman's smile was all teeth. Astrid Moretti. I was one of the 17 suitable candidates your mate rejected. She pushed off the wall, moving with predatory grace. I'm curious, what makes you so special? What could you possibly offer an alpha that I couldn't? Emma's wolf stirred, not quite growling, but close. I'm not having this conversation. Of course you're not. Astrid laughed, sharp and cruel. You'll run again, just like before. That's what scared little Omegas do, isn't it? They run when things get hard. I'm not running. Give it time. Astrid leaned closer, voice dropping. The council will tear you apart in there. They'll question every weakness, every failure, every reason you're not worthy. And when they're done, when you're standing there humiliated and broken, ask yourself, is your pride really worth destroying Kai's future? Emma's hands trembled. Because wasn't that the fear that had been clawing at her since last night? That loving Kai meant hurting him? That accepting the bond was selfish? The council chamber doors flew open. Kai stood in the doorway, his eyes immediately finding Emma. Then they slid to Astrid, and his expression turned glacial. Astrid, I wasn't aware you'd been invited to this meeting. I wasn't. Astrid's smile didn't waver. I came to speak with your mate. We had a lovely chat. He looked at Emma, and whatever he saw on her face made his eyes flash gold. Inside, he said quietly to Emma.
Now.
Emma moved past Astrid, feeling the other woman's cold gaze tracking her. As she crossed the threshold into the council chamber, she heard Astrid's parting shot. Good luck, little Omega. You're going to need it. The council chamber was exactly as Emma remembered, dark wood paneling, a long table where 12 wolves sat in judgment, centuries of pack history watching from portraits on the walls. Elder Whitmore sat at the head, his weathered face set in disapproving lines. Elder Chin beside him, along with 10 other council members whose expressions ranged from curious to openly hostile. Kai's hand found the small of her back, steady and grounding. Emma Thorne has agreed to accept the mate bond, Kai announced, his voice carrying absolute authority. As is my right as Alpha, I claim her as my mate and future Luna of the Silverpine Pack. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Elder Whitmore cleared his throat. With respect, Alpha, we must discuss this decision. The girl. Her name is Emma. Emma, Whitmore corrected stiffly, rejected you 3 years ago. Publicly. In front of 20 witnesses. She fled the territory and broke all contact with the pack. These are not the actions of someone suitable to stand beside an alpha. I agree. Every head in the room swiveled to stare at Emma, including Kai's. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet Whitmore's gaze. "You're right. What I did 3 years ago was cowardly. I panicked, made a choice out of fear instead of faith, and I hurt Kai in the process. I'm not going to stand here and pretend otherwise." Whitmore's eyebrows rose. Clearly, he hadn't expected agreement. Emma's hands were still shaking, but she pressed on. "But I'm also not going to apologize for being scared. The mate bond isn't a fairy tale. It's terrifying. It's being tied to someone forever, being vulnerable in a way that can destroy you. And I was 18, convinced I wasn't good enough, that fate had made a mistake." "So what's changed?" Elder Chin demanded. "Why should we believe you won't run again the moment things get difficult?" "Good question." Emma glanced at Kai, found him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Because I spent 3 years running," she said quietly, "and it didn't make me happy. It didn't make me whole. I thought I was protecting Kai by rejecting the bond, but really I was just protecting myself from the possibility of not being enough." She turned back to the council. "What's changed is that I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of letting fear make my decisions. And I'm tired of wasting time I could spend with my mate." "Pretty words," Whitmore said. "But being Luna requires more than sentiment. It requires strength, political savvy, the ability to represent this pack to others. Can you honestly say you possess those qualities?" "No," Emma admitted, and felt Kai tense beside her. "I can't. But I can learn. And in the meantime, I can offer something else." "Which is?" Emma thought about that day 6 years ago, when she'd interrupted a council meeting with territorial maps and forgotten treaties. When she'd looked an alpha in the eye and told him he was wrong. "The truth," she said simply. "I'm not here to tell Kai what he wants to hear, or to play politics, or to smile and look pretty at pack functions. I'm here to be honest, to challenge him when he needs it, support him when he asks, and make sure he doesn't forget that being alpha means serving the pack, not ruling it." The silence stretched. Then, unexpectedly, Elder Morrison, a woman in her 70s who rarely spoke, laughed. "Well said, girl." Morrison looked at Whitmore. "Perhaps that's exactly what this pack needs. Someone who isn't afraid to speak truth to power." "She rejected him," Whitmore insisted. "The bond should be broken." "But it's not," Kai interrupted quietly. All eyes turned to him. "The bond never broke. Which means the moon goddess herself intervened. Which means this isn't just about my choice, or Emma's choice. This is fate." Whitmore's expression turned calculating. "If the bond truly never severed, that would be unprecedented. I'd need to consult the ancient texts, verify." "Verify all you want," Kai said flatly. "But the formal announcement is happening today at noon. Emma will be acknowledged as my mate and Luna of this pack. Anyone who has a problem with that can challenge me directly." The threat hung in the air. Challenging an alpha meant a fight to the death, not something any council member would attempt. Whitmore's lips pressed into a thin line. "Very well. But understand, Alpha, if she falters, if she proves unsuitable, the council reserves the right to call a vote of no confidence." "Noted." Kai's hand tightened on Emma's back. "Are we done here?" One by one, the council members nodded. Some looked resigned, others curious. A few, including Morrison, looked almost pleased. As Emma and Kai turned to leave, Whitmore called out, "Miss Thorne, one more thing." Emma paused, looking back. The elder's expression was unreadable. "Don't make us regret this." It wasn't quite approval, but it wasn't condemnation either. Emma lifted her chin. "I'll do my best not to, Elder." Outside the council chamber, Emma's knees nearly buckled. Kai caught her immediately, steadying her against the wall. "Breathe," he murmured. "You did amazing in there." "I told them I wasn't qualified to be Luna." "You told them the truth." Kai's smile was proud. "Which is exactly what I need from you. Always." Emma's laugh came out shaky. "Astrid said the council would tear me apart. Astrid is bitter and vindictive." Kai's expression darkened. "What else did she say to you?" "That I'd run again. That I wasn't worth destroying your future over." Emma met his eyes. "She's not entirely wrong, is she? This is going to be hard, Kai. The pack, the politics, living up to expectations. Do you love me? The question stopped her cold. What? Do you love me, Emma? Kai asked again, his golden eyes intense. Because everything else, the politics, the council, what other wolves think, none of that matters if you don't actually want this. Want me? Emma's heart hammered. They hadn't said the words yet. The bond was one thing, but love. I don't know, she admitted, and watched something flicker in his expression. I mean, I've spent 3 years trying not to think about you. Trying to convince myself I did the right thing. But the truth is, you've been in my head every single day. When I read something interesting, my first thought is I should tell Kai. When I'm scared, I wish you were there. And last night, when you kissed me, it felt like coming home. She took a shaky breath. So maybe I don't know if what I feel is love yet. But I know I want to find out. I know I want to try. Is that enough? Kai's smile was like sunrise. It's everything. He kissed her then, slower than last night, softer, like he was savoring it. Emma melted into him, her hands sliding into his hair, and the bond hummed contentedly between them. When they finally pulled apart, Emma was breathless. The announcement is in an hour, Kai murmured against her lips. The whole pack will be there. Are you ready?
No.
Absolutely not. She was terrified, but she thought about 3 years of running. 3 years of what-ifs and regrets. 3 years of being half alive. I'm ready, she said. Kai's expression turned serious. There's one more thing we need to discuss. The mating ceremony. Emma blinked. The what? Accepting the bond is one thing. But to make it official, to complete the mate connection, there's a ceremony. It's tradition. Usually happens within the week after acceptance. What does the ceremony involve? Kai's eyes darkened. A blood oath before the pack. An exchange of marks. He paused. And consummation under the full moon. Heat flooded Emma's face. Consummation. As in we complete the mate bond in every sense. Kai's voice dropped lower. It's intense, Emma. The full moon amplifies everything. Emotions, instincts, desires. Once we start the ceremony, there's no stopping until it's done. Emma's heart raced for entirely different reasons now. When is the next full moon? 2 days. 2 days. Emma had 2 days to prepare for the most intimate, permanent commitment of her life. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Kai's thumb brushed her jaw. You can say no. We can wait. There's no rush. I don't want to wait. The words surprised her as much as they seemed to surprise Kai. But they were true. She'd wasted 3 years already. I want this. I want you. I'm just nervous. So am I, Kai admitted, and Emma's eyes widened. You are? Emma, you're my mate. The person I've waited 3 years for. The one who holds my heart in her hands. His expression was raw. Of course I'm nervous. I want it to be perfect for you. He stopped, shook his head. I want you to never regret choosing me. Emma's throat tightened. This powerful alpha, this wolf who commanded respect from every member of the pack, was nervous about being enough for her. I won't, she promised. Regret it, I know I won't. How can you be sure? Because, Emma said softly, every instinct I have is screaming that this is right. That you're right. And for once in my life, I'm going to trust my instincts instead of my fears. Kai's kiss was answer enough. The pack gathering was held in the main courtyard, where 200 wolves had assembled to witness the announcement. Emma stood beside Kai on the raised platform, acutely aware of every eye fixed on her. She spotted her mother in the crowd, dabbing at tears with a handkerchief. Jenna stood beside her, giving Emma an enthusiastic double thumbs up that would have been embarrassing if it wasn't so endearing. And there, near the back, Astrid, watching with cold calculation. Kai's hand found Emma's, threading their fingers together. Members of the Silvapine pack, he called out, his voice carrying across the courtyard. 3 years ago, I found my mate. And 3 years ago, circumstances led to the bond being rejected. A ripple went through the crowd. Everyone knew the story, but hearing it acknowledged publicly was something else. For 3 years, Kai continued, I refused to accept any other mate. Because the bond, the one the moon goddess herself created, never broke. It remained, tying me to Emma Thorne despite the rejection, waiting for the moment when fear would give way to faith. He turned to look at Emma, and his expression was so full of love and pride that her breath caught. Last night, Emma returned. And last night, she accepted the bond. Accepted me. In 2 days, under the full moon, we will complete the mating ceremony. His voice dropped to alpha command. Emma Thorne will be my mate and your Luna. Anyone who wishes to challenge this has the right to do so now. The silence was absolute. Emma's heart pounded. This was it, the moment where someone could step forward, issue a formal challenge, force Kai to defend his choice through combat. Seconds ticked by. Then Elder Morrison stepped forward from the council section. For a terrible moment, Emma thought she was going to challenge. Instead, the old woman bowed her head. The council recognizes Emma Thorne as the Alpha's chosen mate, she said clearly. May the moon goddess bless this union. One by one, the other council members followed suit. Even Whitmore, though his bow was stiff and begrudging. Then the pack began to kneel, a wave of submission and acceptance that rippled through the courtyard. Emma's mother was crying openly now. Jenna was bouncing on her toes, clearly fighting the urge to whoop. Only Astrid remained standing, her expression unreadable. Astrid Moretti, Kai called out, his voice hard. Do you accept Emma Thorne as Luna? Every wolf turned to stare at the blonde woman. The challenge in the air was unmistakable, bow or leave. For a long moment, Astrid didn't move. Then, slowly, she dropped to one knee. I accept the Alpha's choice, she said, her voice carrying across the silent courtyard. But her eyes, when they met Emma's, promised this wasn't over. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of preparation, tradition, and mounting anxiety. Emma had been moved into the Alpha's quarters permanently, her meager belongings from Portland looking almost comically small in Kai's spacious rooms. She tried to arrange them on a shelf, create some sense of normalcy, but it felt like playing house. Like, at any moment someone would realize this was all a mistake. Stop overthinking, Jenna said, sprawled across Kai's bed while Emma stared at her closet in despair. You're going to wear yourself out before the ceremony even happens. I don't know what to wear, Emma said helplessly. For the ceremony. Kai said there's a traditional outfit, but already handled. Jenna bounced off the bed and retrieved a garment bag from the corner. Mom and I worked on this last night. It's based on the old Luna designs but modernized. You're going to look amazing. Emma unzipped the bag and her breath caught. The dress, if you could call it that, was stunning. White silk that would drape over her body like liquid moonlight, with intricate silver embroidery along the edges. It was elegant and provocative all at once, clearly designed to be removed easily during the consummation part of the ceremony. Heat flooded her face. It's beautiful, she managed. You're blushing. Jenna grinned wickedly. Nervous about tomorrow night? Terrified, Emma admitted. What if I'm terrible at it? What if I disappoint him? Jenna's expression softened. Emma, the mating ceremony isn't like regular sex. The bond amplifies everything. Every touch, every emotion. You won't have to worry about being good enough. Your instincts will take over. That's not remotely reassuring. Okay, real talk. Jenna sat beside her, suddenly serious. Are you having second thoughts? Because if you are, it's okay. You can wait. Take more time.
No.
Emma shook her head firmly. No second thoughts. Just first-time jitters, I guess. A knock sounded at the door before Jenna could respond. Come in, Emma called. Elder Morrison entered, carrying a leather-bound book that looked older than the pack house itself. Miss Thorne, I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all, Elder. Emma stood quickly, suddenly aware she was sitting on the Alpha's bed in yoga pants and one of Kai's shirts. Is something wrong? On the contrary, Morrison's weathered face creased in a smile. I've come to prepare you for tomorrow's ceremony. There are certain traditions you should be aware of. Jenna took that as her cue to leave, shooting Emma an encouraging smile on her way out. Morrison settled into the armchair by the window, gesturing for Emma to sit across from her. The mating ceremony is sacred, she began. One of our oldest traditions. But it's also intense and can be overwhelming if you don't know what to expect. Emma's stomach flipped. Okay. The ceremony has 3 parts, Morrison continued, opening the ancient book. First, the blood oath. You and the Alpha will cut your palms and join hands, binding your lives together before the moon goddess and the pack. This part is public. Emma nodded. That part she'd known about. Second, the marking. You'll exchange bites here and here. Morrison indicated the junction between neck and shoulder. The Alpha's mark will identify you as his mate to every wolf. Your mark will do the same for him. This part is also public, though the pack will begin to disperse after the blood oath. And the third part? Emma asked, though she already knew. Morrison's expression turned knowing. The consummation. Under the full moon, away from the pack, you'll complete the bond physically. This is where the magic happens, literally. The moon goddess will weave your souls together in a way that can never be undone. You'll feel everything the Alpha feels. He'll feel everything you feel. It's overwhelming, beautiful, and utterly consuming. Emma's mouth went dry. What if it's too much? What if I can't? You'll be able to, Morrison said gently. The bond will guide you. Your wolf will guide you. And the Alpha, Kai, he'll take care of you. That's what mates do. She leaned forward, her gaze turning serious. But there's something else you need to understand, Emma. Once the ceremony is complete, you can't hide from him. Not your emotions, not your fears, not your doubts. The bond connection will be open, always. He'll feel when you're upset, when you're happy, when you're lying. That sounds terrifying. It is, Morrison agreed. But it's also freeing. No more pretending. No more walls. Just truth. Always between you and your mate. Emma thought about that. About never being able to hide her insecurities, her moments of doubt. About Kai feeling every spike of anxiety, every flash of inadequacy. But then she thought about feeling his emotions too. His certainty. His love. The steadfast conviction that had kept him waiting for 3 years. I can do this, she said quietly. Morrison smiled. Yes, child. I believe you can. That evening, Kai was called away to handle a territorial dispute at the northern border. Emma tried not to feel abandoned. He was Alpha, after all, and pack business didn't stop for mating ceremonies. But as the hours stretched on and midnight approached, she found herself pacing the quarters, too anxious to sleep. The bond hummed in her chest, a constant awareness of Kai somewhere out there. She could almost feel his frustration, his desire to return to her. A knock at the door made her jump. It's open, she called, expecting maybe Jenna or her mother. Astrid stepped inside instead. Emma's wolf immediately bristled. What do you want? Relax. Astrid closed the door behind her, her expression unreadable. I'm not here to cause trouble. I came to talk, woman to woman. I don't think we have anything to discuss. Don't we? Astrid moved further into the room, her gaze sweeping over the space with casual possessiveness that made Emma's skin crawl. This could have been mine, you know. These quarters. That bed. The title of Luna. But it's not, Emma said evenly.
Quelque chose me.
Because of the bond. Astrid's voice was bitter. Not because you're better. Not because you're stronger or smarter or more suitable. Just because fate decided to play matchmaker. Emma's hands clenched. If you're here to make me feel inferior, I'm here to give you advice, Astrid interrupted. She turned to face Emma fully, and something in her expression shifted. Look, I don't like you. I don't like that you rejected him, and he still chose you. I don't like that you get everything I wanted without even trying. Then why? Because I'm not cruel, Astrid said quietly. And because no one deserves to go into tomorrow unprepared. She paused. The mating ceremony, it's not just beautiful magic and romantic bonding. It's raw, primal. The full moon brings out the wolf in ways you can't control. Emma's throat tightened. I know that. Do you? Astrid's eyes hardened. Do you know that the alpha will lose almost all human rationality? That his wolf will be in complete control, driven by instinct and the need to claim you? It won't be gentle, Emma. It won't be the tender first time you've probably imagined. Fear spiked through Emma's chest. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to prepare you. Astrid moved closer. I've been through heat cycles. I know what it's like when the wolf takes over. And the mating ceremony is 100 times more intense. If you go into it thinking it'll be romantic and sweet, you're going to panic. You're going to freeze. And that will hurt both of you. Emma wanted to dismiss her words as manipulation. But there was something in Astrid's voice, something almost like genuine concern. Why are you telling me this? Emma asked. Why help me? Astrid's smile was sad. Because Kai deserves happiness. Even if it's not with me. She headed for the door, then paused. One more thing. When his wolf is in control, the only thing that will reach him is submission. Not fighting, not fear. Submission. Show him you trust him, that you accept him, and he'll take care of you. Fight him, and you'll both suffer. Then she was gone, leaving Emma alone with racing thoughts and mounting dread. Kai returned near dawn, exhausted and covered in dirt from the border dispute. He found Emma curled in the window seat, staring out at the lightning sky. You should be sleeping, he said softly, crossing to her. Tomorrow's a big day. Couldn't sleep. Emma looked up at him, taking in the fatigue in his expression. What happened at the border? Nothing we couldn't handle. A rogue wolf testing our defenses. He sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. I'm sorry I was gone so long. Emma breathed in his scent, cedar and earth and something uniquely Kai. The bond settled, content now that he was near. Astrid came by, she said quietly.
Kate then said.
What did she want?
To prepare me, I think.
For tomorrow. Emma pulled back to meet his eyes. She said the ceremony would be intense. That your wolf would be in control. That it wouldn't be gentle. She had no right. Was she wrong? The question hung between them. Kai looked away, and Emma could feel the conflict radiating through the bond. No, he admitted finally. She wasn't wrong. The full moon ceremony. Emma, I won't be fully myself. My wolf will be dominant, driven by the need to claim you, to mark you, to make sure every wolf knows you're mine. It will be intense and rough and overwhelming. Will you hurt me? Never intentionally. His hand cupped her face, forcing her to meet his golden eyes. But it might be uncomfortable at first. Especially the marking. And I won't be able to hold back the way I might normally. The wolf doesn't understand restraint during the claiming. Emma's heart hammered. Should we wait? Do it during a different phase. The ceremony has to be under the full moon, Kai said. It's the only time the magic works. But Emma, if you're not ready, we can postpone. Wait for next month.
No.
Emma shook her head firmly. I don't want to wait. I need to know what to expect. All of it.
No surprises.
Kai was quiet for a long moment. Then, come here. He pulled her onto his lap, arranging her so she straddled him, and Emma's breath caught at the sudden intimacy of the position. The ceremony starts at moonrise, Kai said quietly, his hands settling on her hips. We'll do the blood oath in front of the pack, then the marking. After that, they'll leave us alone in the ceremonial grove. And that's when the wolf takes over completely. His eyes flashed gold. I'll need to chase you first. It's instinct, the hunt, the capture. You'll run, and I'll catch you. And when you do, Emma's voice was barely a whisper. I'll take you right there under the moon. Hard and fast and without mercy, because the wolf doesn't understand gentle when it comes to claiming its mate. His grip tightened on her hips. I'll mark you again, deeper than the public marking. I'll make sure you carry my scent for weeks. And I won't stop until the bond is completely sealed, no matter how many times you... He stopped abruptly, jaw clenching. How many times I what? Emma pressed. Finish, Kai said bluntly. The bond won't seal until you climax at least 3 times. It's magic, ensuring both mates are fully satisfied before the connection locks into place. Heat flooded Emma's entire body.
Oh,
So yeah. Kai's laugh was strained. It's intense. And I'm terrified I'm going to scare you. That you'll look at me differently afterward. Emma processed this information. The chase. The claiming. The multiple finishes. All while Kai's wolf was in complete control, driven by primal instinct. It should have terrified her. Maybe part of her was terrified. But another part, the part connected to the bond, to her own wolf, felt a dark thrill of anticipation. What did Astrid say I should do? Emma asked. During the wolf part? Kai's eyes sharpened. What did she tell you? To submit. To show you I trust you. That I accept you. Emma held his gaze. Was she right about that too? Yes, Kai admitted roughly. Fighting me will make it harder on both of us. The wolf interprets resistance as rejection of the bond. But submission, showing your throat, being pliant, that tells the wolf you accept the claiming. That you want it. Emma took a shaky breath. Then that's what I'll do. Emma? I trust you, she said firmly. Human or wolf, Kai or alpha. I trust you not to hurt me more than necessary. I trust you to take care of me. So tomorrow, when your wolf hunts me, catches me, claims me, I'll submit. I'll show you I want this. Want you. Kai's control visibly cracked. He kissed her hard, possessive, and Emma melted into it. This was different from their previous kisses, darker, more demanding. A preview of what tomorrow would bring. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. You should sleep, Kai said roughly. You'll need your strength. Will you stay? Emma asked. Just to sleep. I don't want to be alone tonight. Kai's expression softened. Always. They moved to the bed, and Kai pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapped securely around her. The bond hummed contentedly between them, and for the first time since Astrid's visit, Emma felt calm. Kai, she murmured, already half asleep. I think I'm falling in love with you. His arms tightened.
good.
Because I've been in love with you for years. Emma smiled against his chest and let sleep claim her. The day of the ceremony dawned clear and bright. By the time the sun began its descent toward the horizon, Emma was a bundle of nerves despite Jenna and her mother's attempts to keep her calm. You look absolutely stunning, her mother said, tears already forming as she helped Emma into the ceremonial dress. The white silk draped over her curves like water, the silver embroidery catching the fading light. I feel like I'm going to throw up, Emma admitted. That's normal, Jenna assured her, pinning Emma's hair up in an intricate style that left her neck exposed, ready for Kai's mark. I threw up twice before my engagement party. And that was just an engagement. So helpful, Jenna. I try. A knock at the door signaled it was time. Elder Morrison stood in the hallway, her expression solemn. The pack is gathered. The alpha waits. Are you ready, Emma Thorne?
No, not even remotely.
Yes, Emma said anyway. The walk to the ceremonial grove felt both endless and too short. The entire pack lined the path, watching in silence as Emma passed. She could feel their eyes, curious, judgmental, hopeful. And there, at the edge of the crowd, Astrid. Their eyes met briefly, and Astrid gave a small nod, almost like approval, or maybe just acknowledgement. Then Emma stepped into the grove, and everything else faded away. Kai stood in the center, shirtless and devastating in simple black pants. The moonlight, just beginning to crest the horizon, painted him in silver and shadow. His eyes were already more gold than human, his wolf close to the surface. The bond surged between them, pulling Emma forward until she stood before him. Emma Thorne, Kai said, his voice carrying across the grove. Do you come here willingly, to bind your life to mine before the moon goddess and our pack? I do, Emma said, her voice somehow steady despite her racing heart. Do you accept me as your mate, your alpha, your other half for all the days of your life? I accept you. Emma met his blazing eyes. In this life and whatever comes after. Kai's smile was fierce and proud. He held out his hand, palm up, and Elder Morrison stepped forward with a ceremonial blade. The cut was quick and clean, Kai didn't even flinch as blood welled in his palm. Then Morrison turned to Emma. "Your hand, child." Emma held it out, trying not to shake. The blade was cold against her skin, and then came the sharp sting as Morrison drew it across her palm. Blood dripped onto the earth at their feet. Kai took her bleeding hand in his, their wounds pressing together. The moment their blood mingled, power exploded through the bond. Emma gasped, her knees buckling, but Kai's other arm wrapped around her waist, holding her steady. "By blood we are bound," Kai intoned. "By the moon goddess we are blessed. By choice we are one. By blood we are bound," Emma repeated, her voice breathless. "By the moon goddess we are blessed. By choice we are one." The power built between them, crackling like lightning. Emma could feel Kai's heartbeat as if it were her own, could feel his love and desire and absolute certainty flooding through the bond. Then he pulled her close and sank his teeth into the junction of her neck and shoulder. The pain was sharp and immediate, but underneath it was something else. Pleasure, possession, rightness. Emma cried out, her free hand clutching at Kai's shoulder as he marked her, claiming her before the pack. When he finally pulled back, blood stained his mouth and satisfaction burned in his golden eyes. "Your turn," he growled, tilting his head to expose his throat in a gesture of trust that made Emma's breath catch. She'd never bitten anyone before. Didn't know if she could do it right, if her wolf would know. But the moment her teeth touched his skin, instinct took over. She bit down, tasting copper and salt and Kai, and felt him shudder against her. His blood on her tongue created a connection that went soul deep, binding them in ways that went beyond the physical. When she pulled back, her mark was clear on his throat, a perfect mirror to the one he'd left on her. "The blood oath is complete," Elder Morrison announced. "The marking is complete. Let the pack witness. Kai Sterling and Emma Thorne are bound as mates." The pack erupted in howls, a song of celebration that echoed through the grove. But Emma barely heard it. She was drowning in the bond, in the overwhelming sensation of Kai's emotions mixing with her own until she couldn't tell where she ended and he began. "The pack will leave us now," Kai said, his voice rough with barely restrained need. Already, Emma could see his control fraying, could see the wolf rising to claim complete dominance. The pack members began to disperse, heading back toward the pack house. Emma's mother hugged her quickly, whispering, "I love you," before Jenna dragged her away. Within minutes, the grove was empty except for Emma and Kai. And the full moon, now cresting the horizon, bathing everything in silver light. Kai's eyes flashed completely gold. When he spoke, his voice was more growl than words. "Run." Emma's heart seized. This was it. The hunt. The claiming. Everything Astrid had warned her about.
She ran.
Emma's feet flew over the forest floor, her ceremonial dress hiked up to allow her to move. Behind her, she heard Kai's answering howl, primal, possessive, a sound that sent shivers racing down her spine and made her wolf whimper in response. He was giving her a head start. She could feel it through the bond, the wolf fighting against the urge to immediately give chase, allowing its mate the thrill of the hunt. 10 seconds. Maybe 15. Emma's lungs burned as she pushed deeper into the woods surrounding the ceremonial grove. Moonlight filtered through the canopy, turning the world into silver and shadow. She could hear her own heartbeat, thundering in her ears, could feel the bond stretching between them like a tether pulling taut. Then silence. The kind of silence that meant a predator was on the move. Emma's wolf urged her to stop, to submit, to turn around and present herself to her mate. But some human part of her needed this, needed to be caught, claimed, taken. The chase was part of the magic, part of the ceremony that would bind them forever. A branch snapped behind her. Emma spun, but saw nothing. Just trees and moonlight, and Kai appeared from the shadows like a ghost. He'd moved so silently she hadn't heard him close the distance. His chest heaved, muscles rippling in the moonlight, and his eyes were pure wolf now, predatory and hungry and fixed on her with singular focus. "Caught you," he growled. Emma's breath hitched. Every instinct screamed at her to run again, but her legs wouldn't move. She was frozen, trapped in the intensity of his gaze. Kai prowled forward, and Emma's back hit a tree. Cornered. You ran from me, Kai said, his voice barely human. My mate ran from me. You told me to, Emma managed, her voice shaking. I did. His hands came up to frame her face, but his touch was harder than before, more demanding. And now I've caught you. Do you know what that means, Emma? She remembered Astrid's words. Remembered Kai's warning this morning. The wolf didn't understand gentle. The wolf only understood claim and possess and mine. It means you won, Emma whispered. It means you're mine. His mouth crashed against hers, and this kiss was nothing like the ones before. It was consuming, dominant, a claiming that stole the breath from her lungs. His teeth caught her bottom lip, biting down just hard enough to make her gasp. Emma's hands came up to clutch his shoulders, and she made herself relax into the kiss. Submission. Trust. Acceptance. The moment she went pliant against him, Kai growled low in approval. His hands slid down her body, finding the ties of her ceremonial dress and pulling. The silk fell away like water, pooling at her feet and leaving her bare under the moonlight. Emma should have been embarrassed. Should have felt exposed. Instead, with Kai's golden eyes devouring every inch of her, she felt powerful. Desired. Claimed. So perfect, Kai rasped, his hands mapping her body with possessive touches. Mine. All mine. Yours, Emma agreed breathlessly. That single word of submission seemed to snap the last thread of Kai's control. He lifted her effortlessly, pressing her back against the tree, and Emma gasped as bark bit into her skin. His mouth found her throat, teeth scraping over his mark, and the sensation shot straight to her core. Tell me you want this, Kai demanded, even as his hands gripped her thighs, positioning her. Tell me you accept the claiming. I want this, Emma said, her voice breaking. I want you. I accept. The rest of her words dissolved into a cry as Kai claimed her in one powerful thrust. The sensation was overwhelming, pain and pleasure and fullness, and the bond exploding between them like a supernova. Emma could feel everything Kai felt, his satisfaction, his need, his absolute conviction that this was right, mixed with her own sensations until she couldn't tell where she ended and he began. Emma, Kai groaned against her throat. My Emma. My mate. He moved, and Emma clung to him, her nails digging into his shoulders as he took her against the tree with a force that would have terrified her if it didn't feel so perfect. This was what Astrid had warned her about, the rawness, the primal need, the wolf in complete control. But Emma wasn't scared. She was flying. More, she heard herself gasp. Kai, please. His teeth found her mark again, biting down, and Emma shattered. The first climax ripped through her with an intensity that made her scream, her body convulsing around him as pleasure whited out her vision. Through the bond, she felt Kai's savage satisfaction. Felt him register that she'd finished once, 2 more to go before the bond would seal. He didn't slow down. If anything, his pace increased, driving into her with single-minded determination. Emma's second orgasm built faster than the first, coiling tight in her belly as Kai's hands and mouth worked her body like an instrument he'd been playing for years. That's it, he growled against her skin. Give me another one. Let me feel you come apart. His hand slipped between their bodies, finding the bundle of nerves that made Emma keen, and she lost herself again. The second climax was even more intense than the first, dragging a sob from her throat as her body trembled uncontrollably. 2 down. 1 to go. But Kai wasn't done with the tree. He pulled out, making Emma whimper at the loss, and carried her deeper into the grove. His strength was inhuman, carrying her as if she weighed nothing, and when he found a moonlit clearing, he laid her down on the soft grass. The moon was directly overhead now, bathing them in silver light. Kai loomed over her, beautiful and terrifying, every inch the alpha claiming his mate. On your stomach, he commanded. Emma rolled over, her heart racing. She felt Kai's hands on her hips, pulling her up onto her knees, positioning her. This was more vulnerable than before, more exposed, and for a moment fear spiked through her. Kai must have felt it through the bond, because he leaned over her, his chest pressed to her back. Trust me, he murmured, his voice slightly more human. I've got you, Emma. Always. Then he was inside her again, and the new angle made Emma cry out. Deeper. Fuller. More intense. Kai's rhythm was relentless, one hand fisted in her hair, not painfully, but possessively, while the other gripped her hip. With each thrust, Emma felt the bond tighten, felt their souls weaving together in ways that transcended the physical. Can you feel it? Kai rasped. Can you feel us becoming one? She could. God, she could feel everything, his love, his need, his absolute devotion mixing with her own emotions until they were indistinguishable. She could feel his pleasure as if it were her own, could feel how close he was to his own release, waiting for her to finish first. I love you, Emma gasped out, the words torn from somewhere deep inside. Kai, I love you, The third orgasm hit her like a tidal wave, and through the bond, she felt Kai's control finally shatter. He drove into her one last time and followed her over the edge, his release triggering something in the magic surrounding them. The bond snapped into place. It felt like lightning striking, like the universe rearranging itself, like every cell in Emma's body recognizing its other half and locking into place. She could feel Kai's heartbeat as if it were her own, could feel his exhaustion and satisfaction and overwhelming love flooding through the connection. And underneath it all, a sense of rightness so profound it brought tears to her eyes. Kai collapsed beside her, immediately pulling her into his arms. His eyes were still gold, but more aware now, more present. Emma, he breathed, his hand trembling as it cupped her face. Are you okay? Did I hurt you? No, Emma whispered, though her body ached in ways she'd never experienced. No, you didn't hurt me. That was. Intense, Kai finished. His thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. I'm sorry if I was too rough. You were perfect. Emma caught his hand, pressing it against her heart. Can you feel it? The bond? Kai's expression shifted to wonder. I can feel everything. Your heartbeat. Your emotions. Your love. His voice cracked. You love me. I do, Emma confirmed, and saying it out loud felt like the final piece clicking into place. I think I've loved you for longer than I realized. I was just too scared to admit it. No more running, Kai said softly. Promise me. No matter how scared you get, no matter what challenges we face, promise me you won't run. Emma looked into his golden eyes, so much more human now, so full of vulnerability and hope, and made the only promise that mattered. No more running. I promise. Kai kissed her then, and it was different from every kiss before. Gentler. Sweeter. The kiss of a man who'd finally found his home. When they finally pulled apart, Emma realized the moonlight was fading. Dawn was approaching. We should head back, Kai murmured, though he made no move to release her. The pack will want to see us, confirm the bond is sealed. Emma flushed, suddenly aware of her nakedness, of the marks covering her body, of the evidence of their claiming scattered across the clearing. I don't have clothes. Kai's laugh was warm and rich. There's a tradition for that too. The newly mated pair returns wearing each other's scents and nothing else. It shows the pack the bond is complete. You're joking. I'm not. His grin turned wicked. Though I can shift and let you ride back on my wolf if you're too embarrassed. The thought of riding a massive wolf while naked was somehow even more mortifying. Walking is fine. The walk back to the pack house was both the longest and shortest of Emma's life. True to Kai's word, several pack members had waited at the edge of the ceremonial grounds, including Elder Morrison and, mortifyingly, Emma's mother. But no one stared at their nakedness. Instead, they simply bowed their heads in respect, acknowledging the completion of the ceremony. The bond is sealed? Morrison asked formally. It is, Kai confirmed, his arm wrapped protectively around Emma's waist. Morrison smiled, a genuine expression of warmth that transformed her weathered face. Then let it be known, Emma Thorne is Luna of the Silver Pine Pack. May the moon goddess bless this union. The small gathering erupted in howls of celebration, and Emma found herself pulled into hugs despite her state of undress. Her mother was crying again, Jenna was bouncing excitedly, and even some of the pack members who'd seemed skeptical before were offering genuine congratulations. "You did it," Jenna whispered in Emma's ear. "You actually did it. I'm so proud of you." When they finally made it back to their quarters, Kai immediately started a shower, pulling Emma under the warm spray with him. He was gentle now, washing away the evidence of their claiming with tender touches that made Emma's heart ache. "Sore?" he asked, noticing her wince when the water hit certain marks. "A little," Emma admitted. "But it's a good kind of sore." Kai's expression turned rueful. "I was too rough. I knew I would be, but feeling it through the bond now, Emma, I'm sorry." "Don't." Emma pressed her fingers to his lips. "Don't apologize for giving me exactly what I needed. What we both needed." She could feel his guilt through the bond, mixing with his love and concern. It was strange, feeling someone else's emotions as clearly as her own, but also beautiful. No more hiding. No more pretending. Just truth, always. "I love you," she said, because he needed to hear it. "I love you, Kai Sterling, exactly as you are. Wolf and all." His kiss was answer enough. They slept for most of the day, wrapped around each other in a tangle of limbs and contentment. When Emma finally woke, the sun was setting again, and Kai was watching her with an expression that made her stomach flip. "What?" she asked, suddenly self-conscious. "Nothing. Just." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "You're really here. Really mine. After 3 years, I still can't quite believe it." "Believe it." Emma snuggled closer, relishing the way the bond hummed happily between them. "You're stuck with me now." "Good." They lay in comfortable silence for a while, until Emma's stomach growled loudly enough to make them both laugh. "Food," Kai declared, reluctantly releasing her. "You need food. And probably more water." "And I'm fine," Emma assured him, even as she accepted the water bottle he pressed into her hands. "The ceremony took a lot out of me, but I'm okay." Still, when Kai ordered an enormous meal sent to their quarters, Emma found herself ravenously hungry. They ate in bed, something that felt deliciously decadent and domestic all at once. So, Emma sat around a bite of pasta. "What happens now? Do I have Luna duties or training or—" "Now," Kai interrupted, "you rest. The ceremony was yesterday. You're allowed to take time to adjust before jumping into pack responsibilities. But the council can wait." His tone was final. "Emma, you've spent 3 years running from this. From us. I'm not going to rush you into being Luna. We have time." The bond pulsed with his sincerity, and Emma relaxed. "Okay. A few days of adjustment sounds good." Famous last words. Because 3 hours later, a frantic knock at the door shattered their peaceful bubble. "Alpha." The voice was Beta Cole, and he sounded panicked. "We have a situation. It's urgent." Kai was out of bed instantly, pulling on clothes with practiced efficiency. Emma scrambled to dress as well, her heart racing. "What kind of situation?" Kai demanded, yanking open the door. Cole's expression was grim. "Rogues. At least 20 of them, led by someone who claims they have a right to challenge your position as Alpha. They're demanding an audience with you." His gaze flicked to Emma and the new Luna. "They're at the northern border and threatening to attack if you don't meet with them within the hour." Emma's blood ran cold. "Who's leading them?" "That's the problem," Cole said quietly. "It's your father." The world tilted sideways. Emma's father, Victor Thorne, had left the pack when she was 12. Had disappeared into the rogue territories without explanation, abandoning her and her mother and Jenna. Emma hadn't seen or heard from him in over a decade. And now he was back, leading a rogue pack to their doorstep, demanding an audience. "No," Emma whispered. "That's not possible. He's been gone for years. Why would he come back now?" Through the bond, she felt Kai's fury rising, protective and fierce. "It doesn't matter why," he said, his voice dropping to alpha command. "What matters is handling this threat before anyone gets hurt." "You can't seriously be considering meeting with them," Cole protested. "It's obviously a trap. If I refuse, they'll attack," Kai said flatly. "Better to meet, assess the situation, and control the narrative." His golden eyes found Emma's. "But you're staying here. In the pack house. Protected." If he's asking to see the Luna, he's asking to see me, Emma countered, even as fear clawed at her throat. Hiding won't help. It'll just make me look weak. You're not weak. Kai's hands framed her face. But you're also newly mated and exhausted from the ceremony. I won't risk you. He's my father, Emma said quietly. Through the bond, she could feel Kai's conflict, his need to protect her warring with his understanding that she had a right to face this. Whatever he wants, whatever brought him back, I deserve answers. Kai's jaw clenched. For a long moment, Emma thought he would refuse. Then, fine. But you stay behind me at all times. The moment I sense danger, you run. Understood. Understood. It was a lie, and they both knew it. But sometimes love meant letting your mate make their own choices, even dangerous ones. The northern border was lit by torches and moonlight when they arrived. 20 rogues stood in a semicircle, their eyes reflecting the firelight like demons. They were rough-looking wolves, scarred and hardened by life outside pack protection. And at their center stood Victor Thorne. Emma's breath caught. He'd aged, his hair now more gray than brown, his face lined with years of hard living. But his eyes were the same dark brown she remembered, sharp and calculating. Alpha Sterling, Victor said, his voice carrying across the clearing. Thank you for agreeing to meet. You're on Silverpine territory uninvited, Kai said coldly, his alpha aura radiating outward in waves of dominance that made several rogues flinch. Give me one reason why I shouldn't have you all removed by force. Victor's smile was thin. Because I have information about a threat to your pack. One that specifically targets your new mate. Every wolf turned to stare at Emma. What threat? Emma demanded, stepping forward despite Kai's attempt to keep her behind him. Victor's gaze landed on her, and something flickered in his expression. Regret? Pride? Emma couldn't tell. Hello, Emma, he said quietly. You've grown up. You left, Emma said, her voice harder than she'd expected. You abandoned us 12 years ago. You don't get to show up now and act like a concerned father. I had my reasons. I don't care about your reasons. Emma's hands clenched into fists. What threat? Victor sighed, suddenly looking every one of his years. There's a pack, the Shadowmere Pack, led by Alpha Damian Cross. They believe that Emma Thorne rejected an alpha mate 3 years ago, making her unclaimed and available. Kai growled, a sound that made the rogue step back. She's claimed. The bond is sealed. Emma is my mate. They don't care, Victor said flatly. Alpha Cross has decided Emma would make a suitable mate for him. He's planning to challenge your bond, claim her by force if necessary. And based on the scouts I've been tracking, he'll make his move within the week. The world spun. Emma reached for Kai, needing his steadiness, and he pulled her against his side immediately. Why are you telling us this? Kai demanded. What do you gain? Victor's expression hardened. Because she's my daughter. And because I owe her mother a debt I can never repay, but I can at least try to keep our daughter safe. He paused. Alpha Cross is ruthless. He's taken 3 mates by force already, killed their previous partners, and the pack councils do nothing because he's too powerful to challenge. 3 mates? Emma's voice was barely a whisper. He kills them, Victor said bluntly. Once he's done with them. Once they've served their purpose. I've been tracking him for months, ever since I heard rumors he was interested in the Omega who rejected an Alpha. When I realized it was you. He trailed off, but the implication was clear. Victor had come back to warn them. To protect her in his own way. What do you want in return? Kai asked, ever practical. Safe passage for my rogues, Victor said immediately. We've been living rough for too long. If you can offer us sanctuary, we'll fight for Silverpine. Help you defend against Alpha Cross when he comes. Kai was silent, thinking. Through the bond, Emma could feel his assessment, weighing the risks, calculating odds, considering whether Victor could be trusted. Sanctuary can be negotiated, Kai said finally. But we do this properly. Your rogues submit to pack law, accept my authority as Alpha. In return, I'll grant you protection and a place within Silverpine territory. Agreed. And you, Kai's gaze turned to Victor, will answer to Emma. Every question she has, every answer she deserves, you'll give it to her. No more secrets. No more running. Clear? Victor's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Clear. Emma's mind was reeling. Her father was back. Another alpha wanted to claim her by force. And in less than 24 hours, her new life as Luna had gone from peaceful to potentially deadly. Through the bond, she felt Kai's determination. His absolute conviction that he would protect her, no matter the cost. But as they walked back to the pack house, Victor and his rogues following at a distance, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. That the real challenges were still to come. The training yard behind the pack house had been transformed into a proving ground. Emma stood at the edge, watching as warriors set up obstacles, weapons, and what looked suspiciously like a combat ring. Her stomach churned. The first trial is strength, Kai explained, standing beside her with his arms crossed. It doesn't mean you have to be the strongest wolf in the pack, you just have to prove you won't break under pressure. What does that actually involve? Emma asked, eyeing the combat ring nervously. Single combat against a challenger of the council's choosing. You fight until one of you yields or is incapacitated. Emma's mouth went dry. I'm not a fighter, Kai. I've never trained. Which is why we have today to prepare. Kai turned to face her fully. I can't fight for you tomorrow. But I can teach you enough to survive. Survive sounds ominous. It's going to be hard, Kai admitted. But I believe in you. And more importantly, you need to believe in you. For the next 8 hours, Kai drilled Emma relentlessly. How to dodge, how to counter, how to use an opponent's strength against them. Her wolf helped, lending her speed and agility she didn't normally possess, but by the time the sun began to set, Emma was bruised, exhausted, and not at all confident in her abilities. Again, Kai commanded as Emma struggled to her feet after being thrown for the 20th time. I can't, Emma panted. Kai, I can't do this. You can. He approached, his expression stern but his hands gentle as he helped her up. Emma, tomorrow they're going to put you against someone bigger, stronger, more experienced. You need to be ready. I'll never be ready, Emma said, frustration and fear making her voice crack. I'm going to fail and everyone will see that you made a mistake choosing me and… Kai kissed her, cutting off the spiral of panic. Listen to me, he said against her lips. Strength isn't just about winning. It's about getting back up. It's about facing something that terrifies you and doing it anyway. You've already proven you have that strength. You came back after 3 years of running. You accepted a bond you thought was impossible. You survived a mating ceremony that would have broken weaker wolves. Emma's eyes burned with unshed tears. What if it's not enough? Then we figure out the next step together, Kai said simply. But I don't think you'll fail, Emma. I think you're going to surprise everyone, including yourself. The next morning, the entire pack gathered in the training yard. Emma stood in the center of the combat ring, trying to control her racing heart. She wore simple fighting leathers Jenna had found for her, and her hair was pulled back in a tight braid. Across from her, the challenger stepped into the ring. Astrid. Of course it was Astrid. Emma should have known the council would choose someone with a personal grudge, someone who had every reason to want her to fail. The trial begins when I signal, Elder Morrison announced. It ends when one fighter yields or cannot continue. Are both fighters ready? Ready, Astrid said, her expression unreadable. Emma glanced at Kai, standing at the edge of the ring. Through the bond, she felt his confidence, his love, his absolute certainty that she could do this. Ready, Emma said. Morrison's hand dropped. Begin. Astrid moved like lightning, closing the distance before Emma could react. Her fist caught Emma in the ribs, driving the air from her lungs. Emma stumbled back, barely managing to dodge the follow-up strike. Is this all the Luna has? Astrid taunted, circling. I expected more fight. Emma gritted her teeth and remembered Kai's training. Don't try to match strength with strength. Use speed. Use intelligence. She feinted left, then dove right, her leg sweeping out to catch Astrid's ankle. The other woman went down hard, surprise flashing across her face. Emma didn't wait. She rolled away, putting distance between them. Better, Astrid acknowledged, climbing to her feet. But still not enough. They clashed again. Astrid was stronger, more experienced, landing hits that left Emma reeling. But Emma was faster, and she was learning to read Astrid's patterns. Dodge, counter, retreat. Survive. 5 minutes in, Emma was bleeding from a split lip and her left eye was already swelling. But Astrid was breathing hard too, frustration clear in her movements. "Why are you doing this?" Emma gasped during a brief separation. "You could end this quickly. You're holding back." Astrid's expression flickered with something Emma couldn't identify. "Maybe I want to see if you deserve him." Then she attacked again, and this time there was real power behind it. Emma went down hard, Astrid's knee pressing into her chest, her hand around Emma's throat. "Yield," Astrid demanded. "This is your chance. Yield and no one will blame you." Emma could feel the bond thrumming with Kai's barely restrained need to intervene. But he couldn't. This was her trial, her test. She thought about 3 years of running. 3 years of believing she wasn't enough. 3 years of letting fear make her decisions. No, Emma gritted out. She bucked hard, using a move Kai had drilled into her, and managed to throw Astrid off balance. In the scramble that followed, Emma's wolf surged forward, lending her strength she didn't know she had. She got Astrid in a hold, not strong enough to maintain forever, but good enough for now. They were both panting, exhausted, at their limits. "I'm not going to yield," Emma said quietly, her voice meant only for Astrid. "You can beat me unconscious if you want. You can break my bones. But I'm not going to quit. I'm done running, Astrid. I'm done letting people tell me I'm not enough." For a long moment, Astrid was silent. Then, impossibly, she laughed. "Finally," she said. "Finally you show some spine." Then, loud enough for the whole pack to hear, "I yield." Shocked silence filled the yard. Astrid pulled free of Emma's hold and stood, offering her hand to help Emma up. Emma took it warily, not quite believing what had just happened. "Why?" Emma whispered. "Because you proved what I needed to see," Astrid said quietly. "Not that you could beat me, but that you wouldn't give up. That's what a Luna needs. Resilience." Elder Morrison stepped forward. "Astrid Moretti yields." Emma Thorne passes the first trial. The pack erupted in cheers and howls. Kai was at Emma's side immediately, pulling her into his arms despite her protests that she was sweaty and bloody. "You were incredible," he murmured against her hair. "I knew you could do it." Emma sagged against him, adrenaline giving way to exhaustion. 1 trial down. 2 to go. The second trial, Wisdom, came the following day. Emma was led to the council chamber, where Elder Morrison waited with a scroll. "The trial of wisdom tests your ability to make difficult decisions," Morrison explained. "You'll be presented with 3 scenarios. Each requires you to choose between 2 equally challenging options. There are no right answers, only your reasoning matters." Emma's stomach nodded. This was somehow worse than physical combat. At least in a fight, she knew the rules. Morrison unrolled the scroll. First scenario. 2 pack members are accused of the same crime, stealing food from the communal stores. One is a single mother with 3 pups to feed. The other is a young male with no dependents. Pack law demands equal punishment. What do you do? Emma's mind raced. The obvious answer was to show mercy to the mother, but that would mean unequal justice. Yet, how could she not consider the circumstances? "I would punish them both according to pack law," Emma said slowly, "but I would also investigate why they felt stealing was necessary. If the mother couldn't feed her pups, that's a failure of the pack to care for its members. I'd make sure she had access to resources going forward. As for the young male, I'd want to know his reasons too. Maybe he was also struggling and too proud to ask for help." Morrison's expression gave nothing away. Second scenario, the pack's northern border is being threatened by rogues. You have enough warriors to defend either the border or the pack house, but not both. Where do you send them? This was worse. Emma could feel the weight of the decision, protecting the vulnerable versus preventing invasion. "I send warriors to the border," Emma said, her voice firmer now. "Not because the pack house isn't important, but because the best defense is stopping threats before they reach our home. I'd also organize the non-warriors at the pack house, Omegas, elders, anyone who can fight if needed, into a secondary defense. You don't have to be a warrior to protect your family." Morrison nodded slowly. Final scenario. The alpha, your mate, makes a decision you believe is wrong, one that could potentially harm the pack. Do you support him publicly, or do you voice your disagreement? Emma's breath caught. This was the real test. Would she be a Luna who blindly supported her mate, or one who challenged him? She thought about that day 6 years ago, telling a young alpha his territorial expansion plan was flawed. I voice my disagreement, Emma said clearly. Privately first, giving him a chance to explain his reasoning and hear my concerns. But if I still believe he's wrong, I speak up publicly. Being mates doesn't mean I agree with everything he does. It means I care enough about him and this pack to risk his anger by telling the truth. The council chamber was silent. Then Elder Whitmore, who had been sitting in observation, spoke for the first time. And if the alpha ignores your counsel? If he proceeds despite your objections? Emma met his gaze steadily. Then I support him publicly, while working privately to mitigate any damage. I can disagree with his decision without undermining his authority. That's what partnership means. Whitmore's lips twitched. Almost a smile. Well reasoned, Miss Thorne. Elder Morrison stood. The council finds your wisdom sound. You passed the second trial. Relief flooded through Emma so intensely that her knees went weak. 2 down. 1 more. The third trial, loyalty, was scheduled for that evening. Emma spent the afternoon with Kai, who seemed more tense than he had been for the previous trials. What's wrong? Emma asked, the bond carrying his anxiety clearly. The loyalty trial, Kai said quietly. It's the hardest one, Emma. Not because it's physically or mentally difficult, but because it forces you to prove where your loyalties truly lie. I don't understand. Kai pulled her close. The trial will test whether you're loyal to me as your mate, or to the pack as your Luna. And sometimes those loyalties conflict. Emma's stomach dropped. Kai, whatever happens, he said intensely, I need you to know that I love you. No matter what choice you make, that won't change. Before Emma could respond, a knock sounded at the door. Elder Morrison stood in the hallway, her expression grave. It's time. The pack gathered in the main hall this time. Emma stood before the council, Kai at her side, uncertainty making her pulse race. Elder Morrison stepped forward carrying a sealed envelope. The trial of loyalty is simple in concept, difficult in execution. You will be given a choice. Your decision will determine whether you pass or fail. She handed Emma the envelope. With trembling hands, Emma opened it and read the contents. Then she read it again, certain she must have misunderstood. The choice was impossible. Choose, stand with your mate and leave the pack, or stay with the pack and renounce your bond. Emma's vision blurred. This wasn't a test, it was a trap. Either way, she lost something precious. This isn't fair, she said, her voice shaking. You're asking me to choose between the 2 most important things in my life. Life isn't fair, Elder Whitmore said coldly. And being Luna means making impossible choices. So choose, Miss Thorne. Where does your loyalty truly lie? Emma looked at Kai. Through the bond, she could feel his turmoil, his fear that she'd choose the pack, his certainty that he'd support whatever decision she made, his love that went soul deep. Then she looked at the pack. 200 wolves who had just started to accept her. Who needed a Luna they could trust to put their needs above personal desires. Her hands were shaking so badly that the paper rattled. This is an impossible choice, Emma said quietly. You're asking me to pick between being a mate and being Luna. But here's what I've learned over the past few days. Being Luna isn't about grand gestures or impossible sacrifices. It's about knowing when to stand firm and when to bend. It's about finding the third option when you're only given 2. She turned to face the full council, her voice growing stronger. I refuse to choose. Gasps rippled through the hall. That's not, Whitmore started. I refuse to choose, Emma repeated, because the choice itself is flawed. You're operating under the assumption that loyalty to my mate and loyalty to the pack are mutually exclusive. But they're not. Kai is this pack. He's your alpha. His well-being and the pack's well-being are tied together. To renounce my bond would hurt him, which would hurt the pack. To leave with him would abandon the pack, which would also cause harm. She took a deep breath. So here's my answer, I'm loyal to both. And if that's not good enough, if you need me to prove my loyalty by destroying one of them, then maybe I'm not fit to be Luna. but maybe your test is flawed." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Kai stepped forward, his hand finding Emma's. "She's right," he said, his alpha command ringing through the hall. "This trial doesn't test loyalty, it tests obedience. And I didn't choose a mate who would blindly obey impossible demands. I chose one who would challenge them." Elder Morrison's weathered face broke into a smile. "Took the words right out of my mouth, Alpha." Emma blinked. "What?" "The trial of loyalty," Morrison explained, "isn't about the choice you make. It's about whether you have the courage to question unjust demands. A Luna who would sacrifice her mate or her pack without protest is not a Luna we want. But a Luna who will fight for both, who will find another path, that's the kind of leader this pack needs." Emma's legs gave out. Kai caught her immediately, holding her up as relief and shock warred in her chest. "So I passed?" Emma's voice came out small. With flying colors, Morrison confirmed. She turned to address the full pack. "Emma Thorne has completed all 3 trials. She has proven her strength, her wisdom, and her loyalty. The council unanimously recognizes her as Luna of the Silver Pine Pack." This time the howls of celebration were deafening. The pack surged forward, and Emma found herself swept into hugs and congratulations. Her mother was crying again. Jenna was shrieking something about "knew you could do it." Even Elder Whitmore nodded with what might have been approval. But Emma only had eyes for Kai. Through the bond, she felt his pride, his relief, his overwhelming love. He pulled her away from the crowd, into a quiet corner where they could have a moment of privacy. "You were perfect," he murmured, pressing his forehead to hers. "Absolutely perfect." "I was terrified," Emma admitted. "I know. I felt it. But you didn't let fear stop you." Kai's smile was brilliant. "That's my Luna. My mate. My everything." Emma kissed him, pouring 3 years of regret and new hope into it. When they finally pulled apart, she was smiling despite the tears streaming down her face. "So what now?" she asked. "Now," Kai's expression turned mischievous. "Now you have approximately 5 minutes before every pack member wants to celebrate with you. So I suggest we enjoy this moment while we can. And after that? After that, we start our life together. Building a future, leading this pack, probably arguing about policy decisions and territorial disputes." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "It won't be easy, Emma. There will be challenges ahead, wolves who still doubt you, hard decisions to make." "I know," Emma said. "But we'll face them together." "Together," Kai agreed. The pack's celebration lasted long into the night. Music and laughter filled the pack house, and Emma found herself drawn into dances and conversations, slowly getting to know the wolves who were now her responsibility. At one point, Astrid approached with 2 glasses of wine. "Congratulations, Luna," she said, offering one to Emma. Emma took it warily. "Thank you. And thank you for yielding yesterday. You didn't have to do that." "I did," Astrid said quietly. "Because I realized something while we fought. I wanted Kai because he was powerful, because being Luna would mean status and influence. But you want him because he's him. You see past the alpha to the wolf beneath. That's what he needs. What the pack needs." She raised her glass. "To finding what we actually need, instead of what we think we want." Emma clinked her glass against Astrid's, a strange sense of understanding passing between them. Not friendship, perhaps, but mutual respect. As midnight approached, Kai finally managed to extract Emma from the celebration and lead her back to their quarters. Emma collapsed onto the bed with a groan. "I can't believe it's over," she said. "The trials, I mean." "This trial is over," Kai corrected, stripping off his shirt and joining her on the bed. "But being Luna, that's a lifetime trial. One I'm confident you'll ace." Emma rolled to face him, tracing the mark she'd left on his throat. "I love you," she said simply. "I know I've said it before, but I need you to hear it again. I love you, Kai Sterling. Loving you is the easiest and most terrifying thing I've ever done." Kai's smile was soft. "I love you too, Emma Thorne Sterling." "Sterling." Emma's eyebrows rose. "If you want," Kai said quickly. "Or we can hyphenate, or you can keep Thorne, whatever you." Emma kissed him to shut him up. "Emma Thorne Sterling," she said against his lips. "I like it." They made love slowly that night, no frantic claiming, no full moon magic, just the two of them learning each other without the intensity of the ceremony. And, somehow, it was even more intimate. Every touch, every whispered word, every shared breath strengthened the bond between them. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms with the bond humming contentedly, Emma finally felt like she was home. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked sleepily. "Waiting 3 years for me?" "Never," Kai said immediately. "You were worth every second, Emma. Worth every rejection I endured, every argument with the council, every moment of doubt. You're worth everything." Emma's eyes burned with happy tears. "I wasted so much time being afraid." "Then we'll make up for it," Kai promised. "We have the rest of our lives to be together. To build something beautiful. To love each other without fear." "Without fear," Emma echoed, and let the bond wrap around her like a promise. 3 years ago, she'd rejected him in panic. 3 days ago, she'd accepted him in faith. And now, she stood beside him, not as a mistake, not as an afterthought, but as his equal. His mate. His Luna. The girl who'd spent her life hiding in libraries had found her place at an alpha's side. And the alpha who'd refused to settle for anything less than his true mate had finally found his home in her arms. Fate hadn't made a mistake after all. Maybe she never did.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out.